Survivor Philadelphia. Second season of Survivor Philadelphia.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions.
As here's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos.
And the hunt is on for the idol.
But it ain't about how hard you hit.
The winner of Survivor Philadelphia Season 2.
It's about how hard you can get it and keep moving forward. How much you can take.
Survivor Philadelphia.
What's up? We are back covering Survivor Philadelphia Season 3, Episode 2, and I'm so excited to be joined with my co-host, Mr. Timmy Bridgman, contestant on Survivor Philadelphia Season 3. Timmy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Bryce. I can't complain. It's great out here. It's good in the hood, as always. So I'm just excited to be back talking about Survivor Philly. So yeah.
I'm so excited to be back. We watched episode 1, which was great. Episode 2 delivered even more. I feel like I'm watching an episode of the actual show Survivor. So I have to just give so much credit and praise to the good baby boy, Alex G, for doing his thing on editing. For me, I think one of the things that stuck out the most for me this episode was like storytelling. I really felt connected to so many different people. It really touched me. And so if you are not watching Survivor Philadelphia Season 3, what are you waiting for? It will literally hit all 3 points of great TV. It's got drama. It has compelling to your heart. It has the games. It has the backstabbing, okay? Because sometimes you got to keep your friends close, but you got to keep them enemies closer. What we got on this episode, Timmy?
So this episode, we're getting a whole lot of not just character development and connecting with people, but we're running straight off of the heels of the last episode, coming right into Jen being voted out and Jen being eliminated from her tribe, not from the game, from her tribe, because it's a twist. What we learn is that Jen has been sent to the Sands of Time, which is where voted out players, at least from our knowledge now, will go and they will write down the name of somebody who they feel betrayed by to give them a disadvantage when the time is right. So Jen ain't out of the game right now completely, but she's not on Roxborough. But at least there's some interesting things that happen a little later down the road. But before we get into that, I just really want to talk about the fact that in a season that's all about time, the past, the future, it kind of makes sense that we got this little limbo moment in between where, you know, you're not quite gone, but you're not quite there. And I found it interesting that we're putting pen to paper and it's really happening when you make a decision, you make an action, it might come back to bite you. The past is not past in this game and in this season. And I think this twist, which I found interesting, really makes that more a part of the game than any other thing I've seen like it.
Absolutely. It's like Exile Island. It's like, you know, you think you vote someone out and you're done. For me, it really reminds me of like just the jury in general. Winning the game of Survivor isn't just getting to the end. It's getting to the end and having the votes. And so I think this added twist where the person is not out and they can write the names down to someone that can potentially be a disadvantage to them. Do you remember the name that Jen wrote down as her disadvantage, Timmy?
Yes, Jen wrote down Gabe's name. She says, okay, she's writing down Gabe's name, first of all, because how do you come to a game called Survivor Philly in somebody else's team's gear that's like an enemy of the Eagles? First of all, first and foremost, I think Jen took that personally. She said, if you're not going to rep Philly, you might as well be my enemy. So I'm going to write your name on this block. And I think Gabe is the person who will see in the future not to come to a Philly event without no Philly gear.
Yeah, but also I just kind of felt like when she put Gabe down, I felt like I was like, girl, that's the wrong person. Like, I just felt like Jen. Now, mind you, I love my girl Jen, but I also was just like, your thermometer isn't reading the temperature right, girl. Gabe, I feel like Gabe, of all the people, I don't want to say Gabe was wish-washy, but Gabe was like, as long as it's not my name, whatever you want to do, I'm in it. But so I didn't love that she put Gabe's name down. I kind of almost felt like in the moment, should put Johnny's name down, if anything. But my 2 cents, what do I know?
I kind of agree too, because I'm like, if it was between me and Johnny, and if Johnny ain't throwing out another name, 9 times out of 10, Johnny throwing out my name. So I get that it was either me or Johnny type situation, but you're somebody I know for sure was throwing my name out there. But it might have been a case where it's like, okay, well, my name or your name, of course you're gonna throw out my name. So it might not have been no bad blood there, but apparently some bad blood when it comes to Gabe.
Happen. And again, Philly don't play about our sports teams. If you are watching this and you're from another city, and specifically the Eagles, if you are coming to a home game of the Eagles and we are playing Dallas Cowboys specifically, or any other team, don't wear no other team jersey to Philly, because Philly fans, they don't play. They will throw stuff at you. They like it. Philly is not like another season or another fun sports city where like the Eagles, we don't play. What I loved about this episode, like right off the bat, after we get to see Jen and we understand that she's not out of the game, we see some character development. We get to meet Paige. Paige is explaining to us like she's at this era in her life where she wants to break out of the box, and she wants to, be her own person. And I just think it's so relatable. And so I really loved seeing things like that. However, I think more special to me was seeing you, Timmy, right? Like getting this little character arc of you being from Mississippi, a small town from where you're from, moving to a new city for school, being the only person from your family to leave the city, to be in this whole new space. We learn you are a part of the queer community. And we just learned so much about you. And I think that although this is a game and this is just, it just really touched me. And I was just like, look at Timmy. And it's just like, I just love getting to know you more, getting to see your own journey. And sometimes I really do think that being a part of the LGBTQ plus community, I think people have like stereotypes and tropes of what a queer Black man looks like, what a queer Black man sounds like. And learning that you are a part of the community, I really feel like breaks down those barriers as to it doesn't have a one size fits all. Like I really feel like you are just uniquely yourself. And so I love just seeing that edit of you. What was that like watching this back? Knowing that some of your family back at home is watching this, your friends are watching this. What was that like for you seeing this play back?
Yeah, when I'm watching it, all I can do is smile. I'm thinking to myself, I feel proud. I feel happy just being able to see myself just showcasing who I am, connecting with people. Because as soon as I got on that beach, even though it's not a beach, in that park in Philly, I came in with wanting to be myself authentically. And I feel like I did just that. And to be able to do that and to be real with not just breaking down misconceptions about the South, but just misconceptions about people like me in general, people like us, people like the folks that might be listening. And knowing that I was able to do that, and knowing that that was the impact I had, and reflecting on who I was almost a year ago to see where I am now, is just all smiles all around. So I'm thankful for it, and I'm excited to just see so much more just character and development and connection with folks moving forward.
I love that, Timmy. And I as another queer Black man, I think that it's a journey, right? And I don't think the journey is often easy at times. And I can just reflect on my own life of like, me coming into my own, or realizing that I am different. Sometimes hiding from it, sometimes running from it, even though I'm thinking I'm hiding from it, like to the world, it's very obvious. But I definitely can remember a point in my life when I was just like, you know what? This is who I am. Love it, hate it, regardless, like I have to live my life for myself. And so we see you arrive to Philadelphia in that moment. But what was the journey like for you?
Yeah, you know that one Disney movie where the Little Mermaid, she's like, it's a whole new world. That's what it felt like. Before even doing Survivor Philly, I had never been to Philly before, let alone I had been on the East Coast for about a year. So coming all the way up here and just being in this place where I had never been once again was exciting. And then it was also a little nerve wracking too, because here I am. I'm thinking I'm surrounded by people I don't really know that well. It's early in the morning. I'm cold because I didn't come dressed
It wasn't
prepared
that
enough.
cold to me, but go on. Go
and
off.
and I thought, like, I don't know how this is gonna play out. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I just had to continue to put faith in myself, who I am as a person, and my ability to connect with folks, and folks being willing to see me and connect with me. And that's the experience I got, and I'm so happy to have had it.
I love that. You know, I'm not gonna let this question slide. I think my question was more geared to like outside of the game. I think
Mhm.
just because I feel like you've arrived at this game, and like me as a viewer watching you, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm seeing Timmy. But I'm more even curious outside, although this is about Survivor Philadelphia, this is still the Purple Pants podcast. And on the Purple Pants podcast, we go all over places. And so for me, I'm just really big on like representation matters. And I think that like
Mhm.
me as a gay black man watching you on this screen, like, right, I connect with you. And so I guess my question more is directly like, we see you arrive on this beach of Philadelphia, and you seem to be this person that is in this place in your life. I am curious to know, like, and you don't have to go into details if you don't want to, but like your journey to get there, coming from Mississippi, going to DC, like, what was that journey like?
Yeah, growing up in Mississippi as black and queer, I think I didn't always have the chance to just grow and be myself fully in who I wanted to be, whether it looked like introducing folks as friends or whether it looked like not really feeling comfortable in every space that I walked into. Yeah, I went to a HBCU and I loved it, but that I wasn't always able to just freely be queer and be accepted in my queerness. Moving to DC in a place where it's not the South, where folks aren't necessarily thinking less of or thinking differently of people who are queer, was a brand new experience for me in itself, because this was my chance to just be
Mhm.
without having to worry about any other thing, without having to think if people would think of me differently. And going up to Philly was just an extension of that whole journey into stepping into myself. You know, in the episode I talked about going to a new place because I've been in Mississippi at that point for the whole 22 years of my life. It was everything I ever known and the only thing that I was used to. And whether that be for my benefit or to my harm, as we kind of see later in the episode, I just had to experience stuff and learn stuff and just really start to embrace all these new freedoms, embrace all this new opportunity to just be myself. And I think that was the biggest part, and the biggest part of my journey is just continuing to be myself and being proud of myself and having the space to be myself.
I think the number one thing that resonates with me with what you just said was like being in a space where I could just be, right? Like
Mhm.
and I think to some people that's a privilege, right? Because I am however old that I am, doesn't matter, right? Like I still struggle with that in my day-to-day life of like being in spaces and like feeling like I could just be. And so I feel like this Survivor season 3 right now or never, right? I really feel like that is really an extension of just being, because I feel like these
Mhm.
stories that we are getting from people, right? It's a lot of these people are in the space of their life where they're just being. And so I just wanted to just talk about that a little bit. Not really so much about the game, but it was something watching it that moved me. Another thing that moved me while we were watching was Sunshine,
Mhm.
where Sunshine is talking to us and he's telling us that, like, he's in conversations, but he's not really in conversations. And he's in this space where it's like he's like people are talking, but like he doesn't really connect, but he's like saying enough. And at that point in time, my eyebrow goes up because I'm like, wow, like he's maneuvering in this game where it's like people are having these conversations around him and he's like, I don't know if he's saying this, but he's like, I don't really care what they say and I'm just listening, I'm just here, but like, I'm a part of these conversations. And for me, I'm like, okay, that's a really good survivor move. Like, that's great, because sometimes for me it's like if I'm in a conversation that don't really apply to me, I'm like, all right, see y'all later. But Sunshine is like, just listening, not really contributing, but being there in these pivotal moments. And so that was just something that kind of sort of stuck out for me a little bit. I also know that there is this talk of people seeing whether or not Ryan got an idol. And apparently from this episode, you were one of the people that saw Ryan get an idol. Tell me more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just minding my business at the challenge. I'm clapping. I'm rooting for Ryan. I'm like, let's go, Ryan. Let's bring it home for the team. And again, he comes back without the puzzle pieces, but has this bag in his hand. And I don't know if everybody else was
Because Ryan
too
said, fuck the
busy.
puzzle piece. Okay. Ryan said, get me this.
He said, give me that
advantage.
advantage. And I peeped that. And of course, me being a player in this moment, I'm like, okay, well, obviously I'm going to use this to my advantage. And so me being a player, I pull in Kristen. I'm like, Kristen, like, I don't know if you saw, but Ryan has an advantage, because I'm thinking, well, he hasn't told me he has an advantage straight up. I don't know if he's told anybody else, but what I do know is I'm going to tell Kristen. So me and Kristen feel like this. And something else I decided to tell Kristen was that I thought I found an advantage, right? I mean, no shade to Ryan. Ryan got that advantage, and I thought to myself, well, it got to be more advantages out there, right? So I see this green little bag, Bryce. I'm thinking, if it walked like an advantage, if it looked like an advantage, if it talked like an advantage.
Now, let me ask you this, because I can't even look at you at this point. If it walked like an advantage, sure. If it talked like an advantage, sure. But let me ask you this, Timmy. Did it smell like an advantage? So let me just describe to the people that are listening, because if y'all not watching on YouTube, you should be subscribed to the Bryce Isaiah YouTube page. Timmy is just so hyped. Timmy, like, I mean, exotic dancer first base is out here getting idols. I should be able to get an idol. Again, they're in Philadelphia. They're at a dog park. People run. People walk their dogs. You ever seen a sign that says curb your dog? Okay. Well, clearly they don't really do that here at this part, because Timmy is like, oh, I see something. He pick up a bag.
A green bag.
I don't know if it's an idol. Well, it could have been an idol to somebody. Timmy picks up dog poop, y'all. Okay. I said, Timmy, I'm done with you. But I love the fact that you are that invested in the game and you're like, you know what? If it walk like a duck, quack, quack. I mean, no.
More like woof, woof. That's what,
right.
That was in that bag.
Okay. But Timmy, the consistent, you know what? Just to continue. You know what?
Yeah, I listened. It was green. It was behind the tribe flag. I thought to myself, all right, this is it. But I died when I saw it, Bryce. It was hilarious.
You died. Somebody else died, put it in the bag, and left it in the park.
Something died, all right.
Something
died. But even with that whole thing happening, I'm like, all right, me and Kristen, we had our little laughing moment. But even though we laughed in that moment, the game kept going, because we ended up, Bryce, right at that immunity challenge. This immunity challenge was called Dumble Tower. And the two tribes, there's two people who are going to do the puzzle from each tribe, and everybody else in that tribe is going to throw sandbags at this tower of blocks to knock them down off a table. Once they're all off the table, the two people doing the puzzle will assemble all these blocks with the letters on them and make up a word phrase to win immunity, right? We just won the last challenge. So it's uneven. We have to sit somebody out. We're in this circle. Ryan's like, I'll sit out. We're like, cool. Ryan decides to sit out, but Ryan is not just sitting out. Apparently, Ryan is going on a journey. We don't know what's happening. And all we know is Ryan is not going to be on the sit out bench. He's going to go all the way around the corner, down the street, take a left to wherever he's going. And we're going to be there doing the challenge.
So let me ask you this. Was it a group decision that Ryan would sit out, or did Ryan volunteer? Because that wasn't clear in the edit.
From my memory, I do think it was more of a Ryan decision. I don't think that anybody was just pressed to sit out. And I think we're all kind of trying to figure that out as we talked. I think all of us wanted to participate in some way in the event that we lost. And I think that Ryan having his idol, unbeknownst to some people, was like a better reason for him to sit out, because if he lost and his name came up, he's safe.
So what was interesting to me was Ryan gets to go on this journey, and essentially the journey is he gets to discover that Jen is not out of the game and that he can pick Jen's brain for a little bit. Am I missing anything else about this journey? That's the premise of it, right?
Yeah.
Now, here's what pisses me off about this journey, and I mean this with love. My girl Jen, right? Jen is, she walk and she see Ryan. She like, hey, what? Hey, they see each other, and Jen's confessional. Jen is like, I don't really know much about Ryan, but I'm not giving him any information. I'm only going to give him a little information, and I'll see what he gives me. Meanwhile, Jen talking to Ryan. Jen like, my birthday is February 13th, 1973. My social security number is 166673. The door code to my lock is 372. My bank account number is 3777 at Wells Fargo. Jen is telling Ryan everything.
Everything.
Meanwhile, at her confessional, talk about, I ain't gonna say too much. I ain't gonna tell him nothing. Sis is spilling all the tea, but also she's telling Ryan about her journey, and she's just being the amazing Jen that she is. And we get to see Ryan, Philly Survivor player, an exotic dancer, and we get to see the emotional side of Ryan, because Ryan shares with Jen that his mom was a cancer survivor as well, and Ryan begins to shed a tear for us and just saying that, like, he's just not out here in the park playing a game. Like, he's meeting real people, and this is what it's all about. And so it's like, at this point, if you don't already love the exotic dancer from him sliding down to first base, like, here, yet another layer of Ryan is coming off, and he is not dancing, right? He's just like shedding his personality. And so we love to see that regarding Ryan.
And even in that moment, seeing that, I cried rewatching it, because I'm like, wow, this is so emotional, because in the episode you don't see it, but I talked about my aunt being a breast cancer survivor, and she's somebody that's super close to me, and seeing that experience that Jen was able to talk about, seeing Ryan relate to that, and just knowing the strength that survivors have with getting through and beating and dealing with everything that they've dealt with, was something that was impactful for me and emotional for me. And I felt it like on such a deep level. I don't know about you, Bryce.
No, absolutely. Like, it was just, again, just Jen sharing her amazingness, right, is inspirational. But I think the emotional part for me was just like physically seeing the impact that it had on Ryan. And Ryan is like, Ryan looks a certain type of way, and just not really expecting that. And so it was just really interesting to see this, and to Ryan getting all of this information is interesting. Back to the challenge, where each team, Roxborough and Fairmount, they have one job: throw a beanbag, boom, at these little bricks. But it seemed like nobody on Roxborough or Fairmount, other than Sunshine, I don't know who else. Okay, Sunshine must be the only Phillies fan, because it seemed like nobody knew how to throw a ball or sandbag, because it seemed like it took forever.
Listen. See, I was doing the puzzle, that challenge. Just want that to be clear. I didn't throw nothing.
Your strength.
We just strength. Right. You know, I wasn't going to be Mr. First Base, Mr. Former baseball player that sits out the throwing challenge.
Mr.
Shout out to
Strikeout.
Ryan. I'm not Mr. Strike.
So your
We love
stripper name
Ryan.
is Strikeout. Okay, we got it, Timmy.
Right. You know, exactly. I know my strengths, you know. Mr. Sweet Talker, Mr. Words, Mr. Puzzle might be me. And me and Paige are doing the puzzle for the Fairmount tribe. And then for Roxborough, it's Amir and Emma who's doing the puzzle. After maybe what felt like 3
7
years of
hours.
when we finally each tried knocked off the puzzle pieces, it was a race between me and Paige versus again Amir and Emma. What I think was the difference was while the blocks were being knocked off by our tribe, me and Paige were over there like, okay, we see a M, we see a Q, we see these letters, and we're trying to figure it out as is actively happening. I think in the edit, we see Amir and Emma just like pretty much watching it go down. Ultimately, our tribe pulls out the win with the answer. The tribe is safe, and we're safe yet again. And it looks like Roxborough once again is going to tribal council.
And first of all, shout out to Fairmount for winning that. And Roxborough is going straight to tribal council, or they're going to tribal council. And Amir, rightfully so, is worried that after his performance at the last tribal council, that votes will be on him, and he should be right. Now, this is where I get a little pissed off, right? Because Johnny, shout out to the baby boy, Johnny. Johnny is huddling with people and trying to figure out where votes are going. We see Johnny and Ben, and they're essentially saying Amir. And so at one point in time, there's a group of people that is throwing the name Amir out. And I'm like, okay, he probably should go. After Johnny leaves that group, then it seems like there's another group that forms. And I know that there's what's his name? There's Ben, there's Emma, and they're talking that they feel like it should be Johnny. I'm like, now what Johnny do? Then we have, now this is the alliance that I'm here for. Gabe, Jasmine, Amir, and Johnny are all essentially saying like, hey, it's Ben. Ben needs to go. Now I'm like, no, what the hell did Ben do? Me as a viewer, I'm like, the only person that needs to go here is Amir. And this is where I have to give Amir credit, because this is really true in the game, right? Like, I played Survivor season 28, Kagian, and when we got back to the camp after we had lost, I felt like I knew that my name was on the chopping block, and I could see other people entering conversations, and I just was like, I'm gonna let them have their conversations. That y'all do what y'all do. This is where I have to give Amir credit for, is that Amir was, hey, you want to talk? Like, let's, like, you know, I'm like, and it's so interesting because just me watching this, I felt like I was a little triggered, because I felt like my approach to a lot of things when I was on Kagian was very similar to Johnny, right? Like, I felt like Johnny connected with people. Like, I felt like he was locked in with Gabe and locked in with Jasmine, real ones, friends, okay? The enemy, Amir. And I felt like outside of that, when he would be around other people like Ben, Emma, Jalissa, he would, like, at one point in time, he's like, anybody want to talk? Or, like, you know, kind of like being a little timid, or just knowing that the energy was uncomfortable. On the other hand, Amir, even though, in my opinion, Amir is wrong, like, he should be going home, but Amir is driving conversations. Like, he's not, like, letting the conversation sit still. He's like, this is what I think. He's actively stabbing people in the back. He's actively saying Johnny's name. And I'm like, what is going on? But I have to give Amir the credit of, like, him not just waiting for the conversations to come to him, or when he's having the conversations, he's actively, like, giving his point of view, which in my opinion is, like, so smart, because either you're going to watch the game be played, or you're going to play the game.
Right. And what I found so interesting about that is just as Amir found himself in the hot seat last tribal council with standing up for Jen in that way and coming into this round being nervous, he finds himself in the middle. It seems like Amir is the person that has the power to jump back and forth between, all right, do I want to work with Johnny's team? Do I want to work with Ben's team? Johnny being the person that we voted for last round and almost went home, and Ben being somebody who at the most recent immunity challenge just told the other tribe that I had an idol or that Ryan has an idol because I played an idol. So it's like, where do I go in this situation between these two people? And what I found so interesting is that he went from, again, being in trouble to being the person in power and being the deciding vote, what it seems like this round.
Absolutely. Another thing that I thought was interesting was like a player like Jalissa. Uh, right. I feel like we see them every season on Survivor, where it's someone that's like, at this point, she's very reserved. Like, you don't know where she's going. But like me watching this, I was just like, I wish Johnny spent more time with her because I
Mhm.
feel like, she loves everybody, but also it's like, I feel like we're human beings, right? Where it's like the
Mhm.
more time that I have with someone, the more loyal, the more of a connection that I'm going to feel with somebody. And I feel like Jalissa was a vote that kind of surprised me because I just thought that, like, again, I'm just confused as to why Johnny's name is up here, right? Like, I don't understand why his name is up here, other than the fact that he was the one that said Jen's name. Here was another thing that I have to give Amir credit for, even though I don't want to give Amir credit for because I want to yell at Amir. But when Amir was talking to Gabe, Jasmine, and Johnny, and he was making his case, and they were looking for names to throw out, I felt like Amir was the one to throw Ben's name out there, right?
Mm.
And then after they agreed to it, Amir was like, "So it sounds like you guys are saying Ben's name." I'm like, "It sounds like you guys are saying Ben. That's you. You said like."
Mhm.
I'm like, okay. As mad as I am at an Amir, I love it. I feel like, shout out to again Alex G in this editing, where again in the beginning we see this large circle of people where Johnny, Ben, Emma, maybe Jalissa are in, and it seems like the consensus is Amir. Soon after Johnny leaves, we kind of see Ben lead the charge of saying like, well, I don't know about this Johnny person. We almost got him last time. And so we might need to get him this time so we don't close up any loose ends. And so at this point, it's like there's so many different fractions of people that are saying one thing. But I do know that I feel like Gabe and Jasmine, and up until the voting point, I felt like Amir and Johnny were locked in. We get
Yeah.
to tribal, and what happens at tribal?
Listen, we get to tribal, and it's a whole lot of talk going on. When Jaleesa gets put on the spot, it's like, okay, Jaleesa, what makes this vote happen? Like, what's going on? Jaleesa's unsure. She doesn't know if it's gonna come down to just strictly bonds with people. Is it gonna come down to strategy? And ultimately, it seems like it comes down to whatever Amir decides because it ends up being a 4-3 vote once
And
again.
uh, once
And
again,
this
what?
time, Johnny gets the 4.
Uh, and
Mm.
so when the votes happen, you see my good sis Jasmine. When Johnny's vote is cast, and we realize that Johnny is the last vote to be called, and he's voted out. Jasmine, you could see her. First of all, shout out to the ponytail, okay? Because it's Jasmine and her ponytail. We love it. You can see Jasmine in her head doing the numbers, and then she just looks over because she like, now wait a minute, like we had a 4-person, like our vote should be the 4-person. So just seeing Jasmine in that quick turnaround, I'm like, I can't wait to see the next episode to see what Jasmine is going to say about this. But it sucks that Johnny went home. I really kind of liked the element that Johnny was given. I felt like that he put himself out there. He was playing, but also it's just in this game of Survivor, when you put yourself out there, you put yourself out there as being a risk, right? Like the only reason people know his name is because he got in a group of people and said Jen, and that was the leading factor, the leading decider. So it was just really interesting. But I also feel like from seeing this vote, like I had people like Jalissa, people like Gabe, and people like, I won't even say Jasmine, but I feel like people like Jalissa and Gabe, I have to watch in the sense of they don't ever really like say the name that they want. They kind of just go with what people are saying. And I think that those can be very powerful people. And I hope that they can realize what power that they can hold in this game, because I ain't like that, because I wasn't happy. I was mad at Ben and I was mad at Amir because I felt like, what did Johnny do?
And I think Gabe was also mad at Amir. I think next episode might be Gabe's breakout episode. After, Jasmine darts her eyes straight to the side, we see Gabe say, what are you doing, man? Straight to Amir, because Gabe put 2 and 2 together and got 5 that it was Amir was the person who flipped on him. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I get tight.
Amir is reminding me of like Jatia from my season, where it's like, oh my God, like how did you just you skated past this first immunity, you skated past the second immunity. I really do feel like if Amir can get to the next episode, I feel like we could just crown him the winner at this point, because he really is playing the game. But this episode was so good. I was like, is it Tuesday already? Like Alex G just dropped the episodes. I love watching on Tuesday night, and I love recapping the episodes with you, Timmy. Any final thoughts on episode 2?
No final thoughts. Just another great episode. Again, Johnny, we can get into the name that he wrote down as we approach the next episode, but 10 out of 10 episode. I can't wait for the next one. I'm excited for it. I know it'll be good. So I'm excited to be here talking with you, Bryson. I'm excited for folks to watch and let us know their thoughts too.
I love it. And so this has been your Purple Pants podcast coverage of Survivor Philadelphia Season 3, Episode 2. Join us next week as we will be recapping Episode 3. We'll see you next week. See y'all later. Keep your friends close. But what you do with your enemies, Tim?
You keep them closer.
Hey, we'll be back next week. Bye.
Bye.
It's the Purple Pants Podcast. You better listen in public, might make your stomach hurt. Ooh. It's the Purple Pants Podcast. You're trying to unwind, you better get that box wine. It's the Purple Pants Podcast. You're trying to get your snack, you better hurry right back though. It's the Purple Pants. It's the Purple Pants.